Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, it all began with a simple trip to the grocery store. It was the dog days of summer, blazing hot in Arizona, the kind of heat that hits you like a brick wall as soon as you step outside. And this afternoon, a call had been made from a pretty run-of-the-mill southwestern suburban neighborhood. However, the call was anything but. It was about a car, and a person who had been left inside of that car. A 2-year-old girl.
Please, baby, please. Anything.
Just let them focus. Do you want to step outside?
We always park that car in the garage usually, but I just got a Peloton recently, and the Peloton is in the garage now, so that's why it's not even in the garage. But
And how long was she sleeping in the car out there?
At first, it seemed like a horrifying accident. Child forgotten in a hot car, no air conditioning, temperatures soaring into lethal territory. But then maybe it starts to look like not an accident. You know, an accident is when you leave the stove on and you forget about it and then you make sure to never make that mistake again. But this was not the first time that this had happened. Nor was it the second time, nor the third, nor the yada yada yada. It started to look less like accident and more like negligence. An almost evil kind of negligence. Before we get into it, please subscribe to see new stories from the dark every single week. Now, let's give this horrifying tale a go. Guys, it's the new year. Finally, it's 2026. It's your year. And it's the year we should all be focused on taking care of ourselves, making sure that we are the best version. And a New Year's resolution that's important, your health. It is finally time to get that thing checked out, you know, that you've been putting off for quite a while. I mean, we all have New Year's resolutions, right? Maybe. But I know mine is to take better care of myself, to go see that specialist instead of hand-waving that thing off and saying, oh, it's going to be fine. New year, new you. But that in itself, right, can be stressful, and it's kind of frustrating already. Just the idea and the thought of having to book all these doctors and specialists and making sure I get seen. Okay, and what if I don't like them? What if they're like, I don't like this doctor, I don't want to talk to you? It's not always easy. From being put on hold, to wait times, to finding somebody you can trust. How many times have we all put off getting our health checked out for simply fear of being judged? You want to start the new year off with a blank slate, without having to worry about wait times, who will take your insurances, and getting issues sorted without weeks in between. You want a doctor who makes you feel seen, who you're gonna get on well with. Whether it's just simply a cultural thing, a sense of humor, somebody you enjoy talking to and feel you can share things with that maybe sometimes can be difficult. I know sometimes we would rather doomscroll our health issues and get awful advice and the worst possible prognosis when a simple check with ZocDoc, this video's paid partner, can put you in touch with a doctor that's right for you with no hassle at all. ZocDoc is a free website that helps you find and book high quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states. Whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the other 200 plus specialities offered on ZocDoc, you can easily search by speciality or symptom to build the care team that's right for you. Want to see a doctor in person? Great. Prefer a video visit? You can do that too. View thousands of verified patient reviews to give you a real sense of who your doctor is. Maybe they hate small talk just as much as you do, or root for your sports team. Whatever it is, you can feel confident that you can book with a doctor you know you'll love. When you're ready, you can see their real-time availability and click to book instantly. No phone tag, no waiting around. Appointments made through ZocDoc happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. If you're in a situation like me and you want to see a doctor without the wait times or the phone tag, make sure you check out ZocDoc. Did I mention it's free? Because it's absolutely free. So stop putting off those appointments and take care of yourself. Go to ZocDoc.com/thatchapter or click the link in the description to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. Big thanks to ZocDoc for partnering with me in this old video. Now let's get back to it. It all began in the town of Marana, Arizona, just northwest of Tucson, sort of like a suburban commuter town kind of place. It lies mostly in Pima County, home to about 50,000 fine Arizonan folks. And one thing to note is, well, okay, it's gonna be like pretty obvious, but I mean, come on, give me a break here. It's hot there. This may come as a shock to some of you, but it gets hot there. Like, there's a fierce number of those real hot ones. In July, when our story is set, you're talking about like 45, 46 degrees Celsius, which is like 115 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the kind of heat where the air itself feels like it's pissed off at you. You're toasty. I wouldn't last 2 seconds. And speaking of hot days, July 9th, 2024, a real scorcher. It was at roughly 4:15 PM that day that a 911 call went in to the Marana Police Department. The call was about a child, found unresponsive in the back seat in West Peyton's Court, this quiet residential area. It looks like Walter White's neighborhood. All pretty unremarkable, but ain't that just the way? Why is it always that the most horrifying crimes happen in the most mundane places? That's probably what makes them so horrifying, because they happen in places that you and I are living in.
What is the location of your...
911, 911, please.
What's going on?
My baby was in the car. She's not responsive.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to transfer you to medical dispatch. Just stay on the line.
Oh my god, oh my god.
How long has it been?
Half hour. It was, but it turned off. I've been checking. Oh my god.
There was a man on the end of the line, panicking, saying that his daughter had been left in his car, sleeping, and now she was unresponsive, and that help was needed immediately.
She was in the car, sleeping. She's unresponsive.
Okay, and who is she?
Please, please.
Who
My
is
daughter. My daughter.
And this was out in the driveway?
Yes.
Is she still breathing?
No, she's not breathing right now.
He was saying he'd already done CPR, and that his wife was doing the very same thing, as she was a doctor.
Okay, we need to start CPR right now.
Yes, we are. We're starting CPR, yes.
The help is on the way to you. I need to hear CPR. I need them to count it out for me. 1, 2, 3,
1, 2,
4.
3. But my wife's a doctor. My wife's a doctor. She's home.
Okay.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, well, she's coughing. She's coughing.
That's me compressing.
Oh, that's compressing. Oh my god, baby.
But it seemed pretty hopeless. Officers and EMTs, they arrived swiftly on the scene within minutes of the call, and the young girl was already being worked on, but the situation, it seemed pretty dire at this point.
The car's been on. She was left in the car after 45 minutes, but it was said it was on. Was the air conditioning on? Yes.
But I guess it turned off, right?
You have a wallet on you?
A wallet?
Yeah.
Please, baby. Please, baby. Please.
Chris. Why don't we have a seat somewhere, okay?
What's going on? Why are you with me?
Because we're first responders and we were on scene. And then they call us. Anything like this happens, they call us. Because then we're running out about it.
How long was she crying? 45 minutes. Please, baby, please. Anything.
Just let them focus. You want to step outside?
As the daughter was being wheeled out on the stretcher, it seemed like this young girl had already passed at this point. And the appropriate dramatic reaction, it played out.
She's dead. Like, I need to be with her when I come.
Oh my god, I know.
At the hospital, the young girl would be pronounced dead on arrival. Cause of death was heat exposure. The mother of the child, Erica Schultes, left with her daughter. The victim, 2-year-old Parker Schultes. They were going to the hospital, but it seemed to be a foregone conclusion, at this point. And left at the home was the father, the person who had left young Parker in the car, Christopher Schultes.
We're gonna keep you updated with everything, okay? We just need to stand by with you right now, alright? Is that your wife out there? Yes. Okay. We're gonna make sure she gets down there, okay?
He remained back at the home and the police remained with him. Riddle us this, Christopher. You want to tell, what happened? Want to start whenever you're ready? He didn't do good.
We're just gonna need to get a statement from you about what happened, what's been going on. Obviously, I know this isn't easy for you, okay? It's not easy for anyone around right now. We're gonna keep you updated with everything we hear.
Can you give us some kind of explanation here as to what led to a 2-year-old to pass away in your car on a day like today under what seemed to be such preventable circumstances? I mean, the thing was, it was extremely preventable. But just not to Chris, who had done this. He was collecting leaving your kid in a boiling hot car incidents like they were Pokemon cards. Chris, he was extremely distraught, as you can imagine. I mean, what's the first thing you're going to do when you're distraught? And your daughter has just died of heat exposure. Make yourself a nice cold drink with ice. Hey, it's a hot day. And he sat down with the officer to explain how one fine day turned into a complete nightmare.
Just been hanging out at home. She was sleeping in the car and I had the car on. But it has a sensor where like every 30 minutes or so it'll turn off if you haven't moved. I swore she was in the house playing with her sisters like she always does.
Chris Schultes, though, wasn't just twiddling his thumbs being the happy wanderer in this story, especially when the police have to initially, treat every death as, well, a possible crime scene, possibly suspicious. And Chris, upon hearing this, that's when the waterworks really began to flow.
I want to feel like we're intruding, but we're going to have to stand by with you for a while. All right.
Is there a reason why?
So any death, we have to treat like a crime scene. I know this is extremely difficult for you. This is a normal process that we have to follow through with. I don't want you to be blindsided by anything, but that's what's going to be going on for right now, okay?
So I'm being treated like a murderer?
No.
I just lost my...
Not at all. I know that.
Figuratively and literally. He alternates between crying for his daughter who just died in what seemed to be a horrifying accident. And I mean, Chris, he's making the noises. He alternates between, that and then sort of being like, fuck. What a bummer, dude. I just wanted a game today. He was then very adamant about taking a shower so he can go to the hospital, which is weird.
We'll be all right. So we can't let you do that right now. We have to stand by with you. Okay? As soon as you can, we will let you know.
You can stay in the room if you want, but I'm going to stop.
I know this isn't easy for you, but the quicker we get this done and finish up, the sooner you can be with your wife. All right?
I'm trying to rinse off so I can go to the hospital and be with my wife.
We're not going to shower or anything right now. You need to stand by with us.
I don't understand why.
Okay? Please.
I don't understand why.
I tried explaining that to you. We just need to stand by with you.
I'm standing by. Why can't I take a shower while you stand by? What is...
It's not necessary right now. Okay. I'm not going to stand here and watch you shower. There'll be time for that, but it's not right now.
Your daughter just died, but make sure you get a good rinse. Get those suds in. It's almost like he's trying to wash away something, eh? Chris had already told a number of lies, which we are going to get into, my friends. And almost everything about this case is baffling. And honestly, infuriating.
We always park that car in the garage usually, but I just got a Peloton recently, and the Peloton is in the garage now. So that's why it's not even in the garage. But
And how long was she sleeping in the car out there?
I want to say it was... no more than 30, 45 minutes. And I don't think the air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I had checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when I went back out, the car was off.
You'll notice that as we continue into this story, the person Chris has most sympathy for is Chris.
The AC was on.
What car was
Are
it?
you guys all here for my MDX?
The one parked
in the
inside?
driveway.
The black one? Okay.
The blue.
No blue.
Are you guys here for me?
We're...
Yeah, we want to do everything we can now. That's why you have so many of us.
This is my worst nightmare.
And this day, Christopher Ryan Schultes made the worst decision of his life. The second worst decision was that lip ring. The victim in this case was 2-year-old Parker Schultes, the youngest daughter of Chris and Erica. They had 2 older girls, a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. Parker was described as a beautiful, innocent, curious young girl. And what happened to her was not simply a mistake, it was the culmination of a series of dickhead moves that would eventually lead to not just one death, but 2. Christopher Schultes was more or less a stay-at-home dad, taking care of the 3 girls he had with his wife, Erica Schultes. Now, Chrissy also had a daughter who was much older from a previous relationship. Erica Schultes, she was the primary breadwinner of the family. She worked as an anesthesiologist at Banner University Medical Center, a hospital just 20 minutes down the road in Tucson. And you know, an anesthesiologist, it's a very well-paying job, as you can imagine. You know, to get that job, to get into that position, you need degrees coming out the wazoo. But as we will see, never equate degrees with intelligence. I mean, I have a couple of degrees, and I'm a fucking idiot. On that morning, July 9th, 2024, a Tuesday, Erica was off for work as per usual. Chris at home with the kids. Early that day, at around 10 a.m., the two oldest children headed off as they were going to a trampoline park with their friends. And so, that left 37-year-old Chris alone with 2-year-old Parker. As we go through the timeline of what happened leading up to, well, what you've seen, sort of nothing makes sense, if I'm honest. And you know, I try to be honest. Nothing makes sense, and you will see a lot of contradictions and lies between what Chris was saying and what he did. He didn't do good. See, Chris that morning, he'd been trying to schedule a doctor's appointment. He had back issues from a car crash he had sustained a couple of years previous. And Erica would say, you know, as a doctor, she was trying to help him organize help as best that she could. Erica would also tell the police later that Chris had substance abuse issues in the past, but they were like way back in the past. Nowadays, he don't drink, he don't do drugs. He would even refuse to take, painkillers that were prescribed for him. He was totally sober Joe over here. So that morning, Chris was allegedly trying to schedule a doctor's appointment, but for some reason, they weren't picking up the old ringer. So Chris decided, you know what? Let's get in the car. We'll drive down there. I'll make my appointment in person. Now, he was seen on cameras driving like past the medical center or the hospital. Not quite sure if he actually got out of his car to go in. But I'll tell you where he did go in. On his way home, he made 2 stops. One for beer, one for groceries. And, hey, more beer. Why not? He goes into both of these stores alone, presumably leaving Parker back in his car. First, just after midday, he went into a convenience store, grabbed a couple of cans from the cooler in the back, and then, when you gotta go, you gotta go. He takes the 3 cans of beer into the restroom of this convenience store. And then, what the hell? He comes out of the restroom minus 3 cans of beer. And then he just leaves. Wonder what he did with those beers, huh? Then, about 30 minutes after that, at about 12:40 p.m., he went into a grocery store, picked up some salsa, chips, and lettuce, and hey, a couple of beers again. Be rude not to. He then walks to the self-checkout and totally slips his mind to scan and pay for those beers. What a dummy. He then arrived home with Parker in the backseat at around 1 p.m, which is around the same time his 2 older girls, they got home from that trampoline park. He would tell investigators that he arrived home at around 2:30 p.m, an hour and a half after he actually did. So the long and short of it is that already Parker has been in that car for about 90 minutes longer than he would initially tell the police. And the hell of it was, he would usually park his car in the garage of the house where it would be, you know, a little bit cooler, let's say, away from the direct sunlight. But about a month earlier, for Father's Day, hadn't Erica just bought Chris a new Peloton? So that took up so much room in their garage, he had to park the car out in front of the house. In direct sunlight. That hot sun on a hot ass day. He said Parker was asleep when he got home, so he decided, I'm not going to wake her up, I'm going to leave her in the car, but I'll leave the engine running, leave the AC, keep that sucker going. But of course, after about 20 minutes of the car not moving, the car will turn itself off. Parker was out front in the car, in the sunlight. Chris and his 2 young girls, they were inside. The 2 young girls, they were like playing quietly together. And Chris, by the way, he was living his best life. He was on his phone. He was looking at men's clothing at Nordstrom, looking for some new treads. You know what else he started looking up? He was checking out some adult videos. He was going to have himself a little JO session just for him. He was looking at porn from 2:02 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And then finally, at 4 p.m., Erica arrived home from her job, at the hospital. And she gets into the house, she sees Chris and her 2 older daughters, and Erica says, "Where's Parker?" The couple then apparently ran outside, frantic, opened the door, brought Parker out back into the house, dialed 911, called emergency services, but already, even by that time, Parker was dead. Text messages would be released that day. Text messages between Erica and Chris while Erica was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. Erica, I told you to stop leaving them in the car. How many times have I told you? Chris, babe, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Erica, we've lost her. She was perfect. Chris, babe, our family. How could I do this? Detectives are coming for me. I'm going to prison. On our way to the hospital. Anything? Please God. Erica, no, she was pronounced. Chris, I killed our baby. This can't be real. Even from those text messages, you seem to get like the feeling that Chris is more worried about detectives coming for him and doing something about killing their child than actually his child being dead.
Are you guys here for me?
We're
Yeah.
we want to do everything. My worst nightmare.
It would later turn out that the family situation was even more screwed up than Schultes led the police to believe at the very start. Chris having history of, well, this exact sort of thing, and he would be caught out in lies about what he was doing that day. From when he arrived home, he said 2:30 when the older girls did. CCTV and a neighbor who had been with the girls would say, nope, it was more like 1 p.m. So again, that meant Parker had been in the car longer than he had initially said. He was trying to cover it up from the very start. Oh, she's only been in there like 30 minutes, you know? Not like 3 hours.
I want to say it was no more than 30, 45 minutes. And I don't think their air was off that entire time. I think there was a time in between. I had checked on her last. It was still running. She was still sleeping. And then when I went back out, the car was off.
He would also initially say, oh, I'd left her in the car, but I just forgot her. Then he would change it and say, oh, I thought she was in the house. I thought she was in her room playing with her sisters. He said he was at the home watching The Office, yucking it up with Michael Scott, when instead he was really pulling his pudding. After he arrived home at 1 p.m. till when Erica arrived home at 4 p.m., neighborhood cameras would show not once did he go out and check on his daughter, 2-year-old Parker Schultes. And as the investigation continued, the detectives would piece all of this together. He left the car out in his driveway in direct sunlight on a 110-degree day. That car would have very, very quickly turned into a total furnace. If he had indeed left Parker in his car with the AC running, his car, an Acura MDX, the air conditioning will run for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then it will turn itself off to just save battery. That's a safety mechanism just if the car doesn't detect any movement. So Parker would have been in the car in direct sunlight for a further 2.5 hours after the AC was off. It was 109 degrees Fahrenheit that day, which is about 42 degrees Celsius, which I think qualifies as hot as fuck. Police would later do a test to determine the internal temperature of the car once the air conditioning went off. And after 1 hour with no air conditioning, the temperature inside of the car would have reached 137 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 58 degrees Celsius. And it would ultimately reach 149 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 65 degrees Celsius. While the police, were testing this, they themselves would take regular breaks to get out of the car. They would have a big cooler filled with ice, water, and Gatorade. They had to, pour water on themselves so they wouldn't get sunstroke. That's how hot it was inside that car, and poor Parker would have been in there for hours. Parker may have been asleep like she was when Chris said she was, when they arrived home, but handprints were found on the glass beside where she was sitting. Perhaps she had been banging on the window. And police, questioning the daughters about what home life was like, they would come across some pretty interesting tidbits about what, had been happening in the house before the police arrived. See, both Chris and Erica had coached both their 2 daughters about what to say, when the police begin questioning you. And the line is, Chris is a good dad. It was just an accident. These things happen. Get the story straight, fellas. Instead, though, one of the daughters, she told police exactly that Chris is a good dad and it was just an accident. Though she said the quiet part out loud, as in, Mom and Dad told me to tell you Chris is a good dad and it was just an accident. She said, sometimes her dad, Chris, he just forgets things. He's a bit away with the fairies, The 2 older kids went to Elevate, the trampoline place, and when they came back, Chris was unloading groceries. That he was going to go back for Parker to get her out of the car, parked in the boiling hot driveway, but he forgot. It was just too busy in the house. He got distracted by putting food away and then playing video games and making lunch. And the daughters would say, you know, he often left Parker in the car by herself. He often forgot her there. He had done the very same thing with them also. She would say, one of her daughters would say he had done it 59 times. I mean, okay, it's a kid saying it, but what she means to say is a lot of times. One time he came home, he left the oldest daughter asleep in the car, and then he turned the car off and went about, you know, his merry old day. The younger daughter had to come shouting at Chris to maybe let her out before she dies. Chris was, you know, playing PlayStation, blowing the shit out of a few dinosaurs, and then said, I suppose. Basically, Chris had a long history of leaving his kids in the car. He had done it to all 3 kids, and it's sort of, you know, unsurprising that like nothing serious had ever happened before. And on multiple occasions, his other children had to remind him, oh hey, you left, you know, one of our siblings in the car, because he was too busy gaming, folks. He was an elite 360 no-scope gamer. You know, I tried to find out what games he was playing, because, you know, if it's Fortnite, well then, you know, screw him. But if it was something like Red Dead Redemption 2, well, let's not be so harsh. This was just like, you know, such a pattern of behavior. I can only imagine he must have enjoyed doing it, because that's the only explanation for why he would do it so often. That's why this has to be willfully doing this, willful negligence. Because you know what, Chris, he just wanted to drink beer. He just wanted to jerk off. He just wanted to play video games. You know, have a great old life. Work? Nah, not for me. And so he would probably willfully lock his kids in the car and just kind of forget about them. They're grand. Don't worry about them. Though every time leading up to Parker's death, the car had been parked in the garage. Till he got a Peloton and there was no more room in the garage. The daughter also said that he drank a lot. It was always beer o'clock in the Schultes household. And looking through the kids' statements, it seemed like he just wanted the kids away from him at all times. On their iPads, sent to their rooms, locked, sleeping in the car, so he wouldn't have to deal with them. Erica had told him, and there was proof, you know, over texts numerous times, you know, telling him, stop leaving the kids in the car. Stop driving so fast, because he was a speeder. Stop drink driving with our kids in the car, because he loved doing that too. Like, there's only so many times you can do this kind of shit without you know, it seems like you were doing this shit on purpose. Having said all that though, you know, was Erica trying to cover for him, or did she truly know how willfully negligent Chris was? Is the question. Was he lying to her about, you know, because she would say, oh, he doesn't drink, he doesn't do drugs, he's a great dad, you know? Did she know what he was doing all the time? It seems like she does. So therefore you gotta say, huh, Erica, he's doing this to your kids. Maybe you should kind of like put your kids first or something? But Erica actually never does that going forward. In her statement from the police, she said this, right? And I'm gonna read directly from the report. She stated, this is a really terrible mistake, is what it comes down to. She said she knew Chris was having a really hard time with it. She said he was feeling responsible and guilty about what happened. He was having a really hard time with murdering his daughter. Golly. She stated that he is a stay-at-home dad, and she knows he feels that he has a lot on his plate. The house, feeding the kids, and taking care of the dogs. Off my own fucking hell. Wow, well, talk about stressful life over here. Feeding the kids, walking the dogs, and the PlayStation's not gonna play itself, you know. And they say nurses have it tough. Get a load of this guy. Something like this has not happened before. This is a little strange, but knowing him and how overwhelmed he can get, it does make a little sense to her. She stated that she does not forgive that, but she still understands him. She stated things have been really good for her and Chris recently, because he quit drinking alcohol 3 months ago. Yeah, okay. She stated there was never any abuse, but if he would drink when they went on vacation, it was just not a great time. It truly was not a great time, because as I said in the months previous, Erica repeatedly texted Chris saying she had concerns for his behavior, namely driving drunk, locking their kids in the car, and speeding with their daughters in the backseat. And it wasn't just his wife and daughters who, you know, had some problems with his behavior.
Well, it was here on this block that Christopher Schultes' 2-year-old daughter died inside of the family car as temperatures scorched above 100 degrees. The News 4 Tucson investigators have learned that Schultes has a 16-year-old daughter from a previous relationship. That daughter tells us she's heartbroken for her half-sister's death, but not the least bit surprised.
His 16-year-old daughter from a previous relationship would speak out. She wouldn't be identified, but she said that when she was a kid, he did the same thing. She didn't even meet Chris until she was 5. And then there was a bitter custody battle between her mom and Chris. Chris, unfortunately for her, won. And she would live with Chris and Erica for 4 years. Years, she would say, were a total nightmare. He would lock her in the car for hours and hours, feed her like once a day, which as a diabetic was dangerous for her. Once she tried to hurt herself. And CPS were called, and they would take her out of Chris and Erica's custody. She would go back and live with her mom. But tragically, her mom passed away then a year later, and she would go and live with a family friend. She would later sue both Erica and Chris for what she would call emotional distress, physical, psychological, and emotional abuse. The report read she would frequently be slapped, thrown, have her hair pulled, have her head pushed into walls, and be picked up by her shirt or arm. Folks, shockingly, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but he's just not a great fella, to be honest. And I mean, he did have a number of incidents with the police for drunk driving, and in 2017 was arrested for assault. So he's not great, he didn't do good. After Parker's death, police went door to door in the neighborhood to try and, just find out a little bit more about the Schultes family, what they knew, what kind of history did they have. And let me read you out what one neighbor would say. Sarah started off by saying there is a pattern of behavior from Chris Schultes of negligence. Sarah stated she has been involved in search parties, looking for Christopher's, children and animals on a handful of occasions, because they leave the home while he is sleeping or something else happens. Sarah really wanted it to be understood that this was negligent and a pattern of negligence that was 100% avoidable, and it was not simply, oopsie, this never happens kind of thing. There was even rumors that he was also banging his next door neighbor because, he's sitting around the house doing sweet fuck all. All of the neighbors would know about the Schultes situation and the negligence and the kids going missing and then being found, and kids would be seen wandering the streets at 2 a.m. appearing outside neighbors' houses in their underwear. So they're sort of the talk of the neighborhood, except for one female neighbor who lived next door, who never had a bad thing to say about Chris, and everybody else basically suspected that's because they're, he's plowing her. Yeah, his kids would sometimes just go missing for periods of time, and neighbors would have to help in the search while Chris was back, napping. Because it's absolutely exhausting doing fucking nothing, isn't it? So with all this extensive evidence against Chris, it was on July 12th, 3 days after Parker's death, that he was charged with second-degree murder.
Chris, you can step out real quick. Alright, so remember how I talked?
Can we do this maybe out here so the kiddos don't have to hear? One is sleeping and one's next door.
So remember how we talked about the investigation and things that would transpire? Okay. And I told you I'm always gonna tell you guys the truth. There's no secrets here, right? So based off of our investigation at this point, right, we have determined that there's probable cause to go ahead and charge you for what happened. Okay.
It's coming up here, Christopher.
No.
It's okay.
No. Okay. So listen. No. Listen. Okay. This doesn't change. This doesn't change what's going on. Okay. What happens at this point? It's simple. Okay. What happens at this point is you are going to be taken into custody. All right, and you will be booked. And then after you are booked, you have an initial appearance with the judge within the first 24 hours. Okay. After the first 24 hours, right, the judge will determine bond and things like that as far as what happens next. At that point, the case goes to the courts. It'll be between you, it'll be between your attorneys, and it'll be between the county prosecutor. So, again, I can't change the consequences of what happened, all right? But what I'm going to ask of you... Okay.
Could I just have you stand up for me, please? Come on, Chris. Let's go out here.
When they came to arrest him, he literally drops to his knees and hyperventilates. Again, something he really didn't do when his daughter died. Weird.
I don't want this to be anything more than what it needs to be at its base level. I don't want the kids to be traumatized. I don't want the kids. I don't want the kids to see Dad get hauled off.
Seriously.
Am I going to be there for my baby's funeral? That's going to be between you and the court.
Can I give him a kiss?
Yeah, that's fine.
I love you. There you go.
Chris, I'm gonna be here and I'll take care of everything. I love you. Seriously, the funeral is Friday. Fuck. No heart. No fucking heart at all.
That's Chris's mother saying the police have no heart, by the way, as now Chris will be unable to attend his daughter's funeral. He will attend his daughter's funeral.
Okay, Christopher, anything inside your pockets? No. You just have to, it's standard, okay? Hey, Brooks, on the AC, look on the bottom, it says rear. Let's get the AC on. As good as I can do my task. We'll do a second.
You gotta notice how the police said, nice and loud, let's get the AC on. Wow, well, I'm glad that they're keeping Chris nice and comfortable in the car.
Tuesday, police found the little girl unresponsive, passed out inside the family's car in their driveway. Paramedics took her to the hospital where unfortunately she later was pronounced dead. Now, the father originally told Miranda police that the girl was in there for 30 minutes, maybe up to an hour at most. However, search warrants police took out later showed she was inside that car for much longer. Now, this is a developing story and we'll of course have many more details to share with you where police discovered this in their investigation, how those search warrants helped set up a timeline to see how long the child was in there.
Now, from then on, Erica, she would stand by her man. Erica would ask the judge, you know, it was a simple mistake. He's a good man. He's a good father. Please let him out. And Chris would be released from jail. And this is just like absolutely batshit to me. Like Erica messaging and giving out to him for months saying something like this is going to happen. You are going to kill somebody someday. And then when it does happen, she's just like, well, it was a simple upsy daisy. He's the bee's knees, he's the dog's bollocks. You know, let him out. Don't charge him, he's grand. We need him to come home so we can try and kill our other kids. And as I said, it worked, by the way. Erica standing by her man, Chris was released from jail.
37-year-old Christopher Schultes is facing second-degree murder and abuse charges, child abuse charges. Tonight, no bond was issued and he was released from jail. His wife spoke to the judge. Take a listen.
I'm just asking if you can allow him to come home to us so we can all start the grieving process so that he can bury our daughter with us this upcoming week and that we can go through this whole process together as a family. This was a big mistake, and I think that this doesn't represent him. And I just want the girls to see their father so that I don't have to tell them tonight that they're going to endure another loss.
Erica's own mother, by the way, a woman named Cynthia King, she had a very different story than her daughter did, and she viewed Chris with the rose-tinted glasses that her daughter did. Cynthia disliked Chris from the moment she met him. She was infuriated just by being in his presence. And she would say he deserves prison time. He has gotten away with everything in his life with no consequences whatsoever. He is a sociopathic narcissist who will continue to make decisions that he feels will have zero repercussions. I am worried about my other granddaughters. I think Cynthia King was on the money with all of that. Chris would attend his daughter's funeral, and Cynthia, you know, the grandmother, she would be there and she would say, you know, Chris, he was having a great time at the daughter he murdered, her funeral. He was having a great time. He was dancing about, he's prancing. He was acting like he was at a wedding with a little flower in his hair. And, you know, while still charged but released from jail, the next thing he did, well, come on. He bought a new PlayStation. What a sack of shit. As I said, the judge quickly released Chris without having to post any bond. Happy days. Well, sort of, because those charges against Chris, second-degree murder, would be upgraded to first-degree murder, child abuse, crimes against children, and domestic violence.
So, Mr. Schultes, this is the time set for your arraignment in this case. You have a copy of the indictment there, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I've actually reviewed it with my client. His name is spelled correctly in the caption. We would waive a formal reading. I request that you enter a plea of not guilty as to...
Even with all that, he was still out like a free man with zero bond. He's being charged with first-degree murder. And he's out having a great time. It's such a great time. Like, this is mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Him and Erica would ask the judge, hey, do you mind if we go on vacation? We go on vacay, baby? We're planning on going to Hawaii, have some little family time together. And the judge says, yeah, sure, off you go. Have a good time, lads. Have a great time. He's a first-degree murderer. Is there lead in the pipes in Arizona or what? And then it gets even better. In March 2025, he rejected a deal he was offered by the courts. They offered him a plea deal of second-degree murder, which would have been 10 to 25 years in prison. And Chris said, nope, I'd rather take this to trial on first-degree murder charges. And he very nearly did.
Miranda dad will be going to prison for leaving his daughter in a hot car. Christopher Schultes has accepted a plea deal for the 2-year-old's death last year. 13 News reporter J.D. Wallace is live downtown at Superior Court with what he accepted and how it limits his time behind bars. J.D.
Val, second-degree murder and child abuse could have added up to almost 50 years, but this deal limits it to just more than half that. 15 months of court appearances and the threat of a first-degree murder trial are behind Christopher Schultes, but he looks far from pleased as he walks out of court after accepting a deal in the death of his daughter, Parker.
Mr. Schultes, is there anything you wish to say to other family members?
In late October 2025, Christopher Schultes entered a plea of guilty to the charges of second-degree murder and intentional child abuse, likely to cause death or serious physical injury. That was just a handful of days before his trial for first-degree murder was scheduled to begin. That was the very same deal he had rejected about 7 months previous. But now he's like, actually, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. The Pima County Attorney's Office said he would still have to face between 20 and 30 years in prison, however. But if he had gone to trial, he may have gotten a life or even the death penalty. But ultimately, he would get none of those sentences. This sociopathic narcissist, as his mother-in-law called him, sort of evading justice once again. Christopher Schultes, he failed to show up to the hearing that would, take him into custody.
We start this afternoon with breaking news. The Miranda father, who pleaded guilty to the murder of his own daughter after leaving her inside a hot car, has died. The
day he was supposed to hand himself over to the authorities and then be sentenced, he instead got into the car in his garage and ran a hose from the exhaust into the car and started that sucker up. Erica and their live-in nanny found him unconscious in the running vehicle. He was later pronounced dead of carbon monoxide poisoning. On top of the car, he had left a note, and nearby was a rope and a ladder. It's unclear if he tried one method before the other. And this was all in their brand new $1 million Phoenix home, where they had moved to after Chris had been released without bond. Whether it was the guilt of what he had done to his daughter just finally got to him, or the fear of going to prison, because I guess child killers don't have a fantastic time, we don't know. But I'll hazard a guess that because he did this the very same day he was supposed to hand himself over to the authorities, well, that will give you a pretty good indication of what Chris's mindset was. Once again, a sociopathic narcissist. Thank you so much for watching. It means the world to me that you're here watching this whole video. As always, folks, if you're looking for some more of That Chapter, check out the That Chapter Patreon. For $2 a month, you get early access, ad-free, every single video, and there is a playlist of Patreon exclusive videos and behind the scenes and extra content and all that sort of stuff there, and a Discord, so give that a go, or check out the That Chapter podcast. You can find it available on all podcast platforms, exclusive episodes there every Monday. Give it a go, do yourself a favor. But until the next video, please take care of each other and yourselves, because I love you. Mica out.